So again, welcome everyone. We'd love to hear from you. You may introduce yourself in the chat and let us know a bit of self-reflection here. That Let us know what have the impacts of AI been on your life. All right. Well, we're waiting for some people to join in here on chat. Let's ask some of our speakers for today. Oh, there's Jeff. Jeff is letting us know some of the AI impacts have been seamless. Predictive text, GPT. I'm thinking he means chat GPT, not cat GPT. Ed, I'm not quite sure here. Absolutely wonderful. And if you are watching us on Facebook, also feel free to let us know the impacts of AI in your life as of yet. There are people saying they use them, they use it daily. I'm seeing Chat GPT a few times, but there's so many other AI tools as well. Oh, I love this. Marcy is talking about writing a lineup song with specific instructions for students. That is excellent. Awesome. I love it. Thank you so much, everyone, for giving us your input here. We're glad you're here, and we are going to go ahead and move forward. Before we do, though, I'll introduce myself. My name is Catherine Goyette. Many people call me Kat. And for accessibility reasons, I'll describe myself. I am a fair-skinned female with my hair in a ponytail and glasses. You can't see that the glasses are a little cracked, but I got new ones on order, so we're all good. All right. Glad to be here with all of you today, and I'm the computer science coordinator for California Department of Education. Did want to let you know that this is being recorded, so if you want to if you have trouble taking notes and would like to have that recording, that will be sent to you within a couple of days. All right. So I do want to let all of you know that at CDE, we have come out with guidance for our districts and for those we serve for all of you. And it is available at this bit.ly CDE_AI. And that link will be sent to you as well via email within a couple of days. So all of these webinars are to support you in implementing this guidance. And so this guidance is kind of an outline for all of these webinars where we can learn a little bit deeper, bring in some great speakers that have some insight to share with all of you. And so feel free to check that out if you like. And what we're really talking about today as a portion of that AI guidance that we believe is important is what is it that we need to know? When I say we, I'm talking educators and students. What do we all need to know about algorithmic bias and the social impacts of AI? And we believe here at CDE that this is something that we all need to consider, educators, students. And so we wanted to bring in some people here to talk about that with us. We learn with AI and learn about AI. That's what our tenets are here at CDE with that guidance. We have gone over in previous webinars, we've talked about safe use in regards to data collection and user privacy. We've talked about leveraging AI capabilities through prompt engineering and critiquing inaccuracies. Those are on YouTube, on Q's YouTube channel. And so you can check those out. And then now we are delving into the social impacts piece of AI. All right. So how is AI impacting the present? I just wanted to start by kind of thinking about some of these things, about how I have seen AI impacting me socially. So I don't know if any of you remember these things on paper that used to have articles. They were called newspapers. Does anyone remember those? Well, when I was in third grade, I read the headlines every single day. I remember that. Now, certainly that newspaper was biased because there's no such thing as news that doesn't have some sort of bias because that's who we are. We are human beings. However, I had a decent understanding of what was going on a broad scale in my community, in my state, in the nation, across the globe. Well, now I get my news from Google. I don't know how all of you get your news, but what I've noticed is that Google has gotten really good at knowing what I am interested in and what I spend a little bit more time looking at, and it doesn't give me anything else. And so what's happening is my brain, through confirmation bias, is the way our brains work. I just keep thinking everyone must think exactly the same as the way I think because I just keep getting the same type of news articles, right? And what's that doing to our society when we are seeing only one narrow side, either of an issue or just of topics in general, right? And so that's kind of made me think about not only are we just talking about the chat GPTs in the world, but when we're talking about AI, it's everywhere. It's in our personal lives as well. So that's something I've been kind of thinking about. And I'm interested to hear what some of our speakers are going to talk about also in regards to algorithmic bias, social impacts, particularly in regards to artificial intelligence. I do want to point out that our superintendent, our state superintendent of public instruction, Tony Thurman, has an anti-bias education initiative. And so this webinar and what we are talking about absolutely fits right in with that initiative as well. So, oh my goodness, let's see. I'm going to go ahead and refresh this real quick. And I am going to introduce a good friend of mine that I've known for a few years here in the Central Valley of California, Mr. Ed Campos. He is working at Kings County Office of Education. He has some other things and initiatives that he's working on as well. And Ed's going to tell us a little bit about his insight and things he's learned and stories he's read and experienced in regards to AI and social impacts. So Ed, I'll go ahead and let you share your screen when you are ready. And if you'd like to introduce yourself further, please feel free to do so.
All right. Thank you, Kat. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, I can hear you perfectly. Thank you.
Very cool. Thank you for having me. I'm honored here to be on this panel. First of all, with Amy and Crystal, who I want to give a shout out to. And I kind of want to just start off with framing our talk today around a metaphor of algorithmic bias as a referee, as a referee that's biased, right? And just encouraging us to question the calls. We're very enamored with AI right now. We're in the honeymoon phase for sure, but we have to be very skeptical and challenge the bias with skeptical inquiry. So don't be afraid to throw that challenge flag when we notice things, even though this is not a challenge flag, but I like to keep a flag handy right here. Let's see this real quick. So I wanted to ask in the chat, have you ever experienced a referee that's biased in your experience? Have you ever, whether you're rooting for your team or at your child's game, or any type of bias in any refereeing or umpiring? I see some emphatic yeses in there. And so both for and against, for sure, right? And so I want us to think about AI as a referee that's biased, for sure, even if it's unintended, right? Because we're all biased. We all have our own software and experiences that we've grown up with. And even, has anyone been a referee? Because I've been a referee, and God bless you if you've ever been a referee, because you brought your own biases into the situation, right? I remember refereeing for youth games in my hometown, and of course I was biased against, when the hometown kids were playing the city next, a couple cities over kids, like, of course, or if my nephews are playing on the team, right? So of course, so we have to understand that these algorithms are like referees that can, in many aspects of our lives, sometimes, with job applications, with loan approvals, with when it comes to justice issues, right? So, and unfortunately, they can unfairly tilt the playing field, right? And when the game is our lives. So I want to talk about when I can get, not go backwards. So if we think about AI as a biased ref, I have a couple of points along this metaphor that I'd like for us to think about. And first, we have to understand the ref, and that we all have an algorithm, we all have our bias, right? We all have experiences. Like we said, we have to learn to recognize the bias in these calls, because if we see something that is off, this is kind of like recognizing the patterns that a ref has, so we can teach our players to recognize these patterns, right? And to understand the impact of them, right? Because the impact could be, it's not just going to change the single bad call, can change the course of a game, but it could change a life, right? And especially when it comes to the issues like I mentioned before. Big part is to be skeptical, right? Be a skeptic and use skeptical inquiry as a tool. And I want to give you some questions to kind of keep in mind as we're in this honeymoon phase, but kind of question this at every chance that we have. And I want to focus on the training for the referee, right? Like, think about a referee that doesn't have the proper training. I just got thrown out there as a volunteer in my hometown when I was a ref, but understanding that the referee is not a single game, but it's a season, and that it's going to require more training and more feedback. So when we recognize the bias, we want to give it some feedback, okay? And this comes to like developing the policy, the regulations, with the rule book and ethics, and doing audits, and post deployment, watching the film as you would to review these challenges in post deployment. So let me get. So I want to share a couple of instances that I've experienced recently of some bias in some uses of AI that I've had with students. So I've had one of the main projects that I work on in my county office is at the juvenile court school, a high school within our juvenile court system in Hanford, California, in Kings County. And we have a hip hop project where our students we're working with students and local artists to create raps, write poetry, create beats. And I had, the students had created their projects, and they were now making album covers for their songs, right? Like their Spotify art for their songs. So we used this AI called Night Cafe, and I would just stand there, and I was the driver while my students gave me the prompts. And so we used Night Cafe to, hold on, let me see if this works, to give some prompts. And so one of the students said, I want my album cover to be a guy standing by a Lambo wearing diamonds, right? Which obviously that's what we all want, right, on our album cover. And it gave this, and then he said, well, that's not what I want. My student said, I want, the student changed the prompt, right, and to a hustler standing by a Lambo wearing diamonds, right? And so with just that one change of the word, it changed from obviously a white man standing in front of a Lambo to an African-American man standing in front of a Lambo, right? Which is very problematic. And through a couple of other prompts using this as we were testing, thank God that not every time the word hustler was mentioned, it wasn't a heavy lean towards a black man, but it was cause for concern. So to be aware of that bias and to be able to give feedback to the app is really important. And bringing our students into that conversation. What does give me hope is that this is not just a game, this is a season. And I think about the algorithm and algorithmic bias of a Google search. because I think a few years ago, I typed in this search, a mathematician, given my background as a mathematician, and there were no mathematicians of color or women to be found on this page. So it is very encouraging to me that there have been some audits and some feedback given to the Google search algorithm, because I did this search the last couple of days, and this is very promising that I see on the main page in the first 30 rows, famous women mathematicians. I see some mathematicians from a diverse set of backgrounds, influential Black mathematicians, and I think this is key to us being skeptical, but giving feedback, not kicking dust on the referee and arguing, getting kicked out, but keeping that open communication with the referee and the AI and the AI developers. So one of the solutions I like is, obviously we need a diverse workforce programming the AI, right? Because it does depend on the data that we've grown up with, the data that the referee has grown up on. And I want to submit an example. Being has that, along with this hip hop project, I know when I first found ChatGPT and I heard that you could write a rap in ChatGPT, have ChatGPT make a rap for you, and I think I forgot, I wrote some silly rap about something that I thought was hilarious, a little bit corny. And then after a while, I started thinking, well, does ChatGPT and the engine, do the people who program ChatGPT and the designers understand the nuances of hip hop as a culture, right? Was given that that hip hop is a culture, not a game, that's deeply rooted in African American culture and history, right? And that potentially this can seem as cultural appropriation, and it can dilute the art form's authenticity and potential appropriation. So, and that is true, and that's going to take feedback given to ChatGPT. But I love what Google is doing, and I want to play a little clip from an AI that Google has developed with rapper Lupe Fiasco, because I think this is symbolic of the type of solutions we need to combat this algorithmic bias. Let me know if you can hear this video.
We got mechanic, fight, build, Gadzooks, Shogun, Crush, Ziggurat, Impala, Whiskey. I froze. You see that? That last one was a froze. That's see? My name is Waslu Jaco, aka Lupe Fiasco. I'm a rapper, professor, a lover and friend of words. I'm a data gathering machine. Rap is born out of technology. Rap wouldn't exist if it wasn't for these technological advancements. DJing, for example, in the direct drive, turntables, so you're able to be very accurate with break beats and stuff like that. Microphones, recording studios, now you're able to lay more ideas. You only had one track at one point, now you got 4, or now you got 8, now you got 16, now it's endless. On top of, here's all these special effects that you could do now. Here's all these different sounds that are generated through technology, like the 808. 808 is a lot of science and a lot of math and a lot of physics to create that sound that rap takes as its own, and like 808, that's rap. Boom. What's next? Artificial intelligence, large language models, rap's optimal for it.
So you can click right here, and everything in this table is basically...
So I've been working with Google and the Palm API on a large language model powered set of tools that specifically focus on the writing process of creating raps.
So initially, we thought that maybe Lupe would want an AI system to write lyrics for him, verses and raps, but it turns out that he didn't want that at all. What he wanted was a tool that helped him explore the universe of possibilities that can arise from any given word or phrase or concept. In the beginning of our session, we've worked with Lupe to sort of extract some of these techniques that he has been developing over the course of 2 decades of writing. But one of the things that Lupe will do is he'll take a word and explode it into all these different phonetic possibilities.
It doesn't have to be anything like super exotic. It could just be like expressway. You're like, expressway. And then it starts to just go through the machinery, parsing. How many syllables are in there? How much spin is on way? There's a lot of connotation with way. There's way, W-A-Y, way, W-E-I, which is referencing like Wu Wei, Chinese philosophy about just being, W-E-I-G-H, way, like curds and whey. So now you got this whole dairy thing that's happening. Way, like that's way out, man. And that's just with that N, that suffix. We haven't even gotten to express. Expressway is a road. Then there's like expressing yourself. Espresso, express, like we exclude the newspaper. You got your ex, then it's like an ex-girlfriend, an ex da-da-da-da. And then it goes fling. And that's just me driving, right? Driving down the expressway.
What we did is we assembled a data set of all of these different examples of these word explosions. What MakerSuite makes it really easy to do is go into the example data, add things, remove things, change things around until you get exactly what you're looking for. The result of that is this bite-sized AI tool that can take in any word as input, explode it into all these different possibilities in the same way that Lupe does. And that's just one tool. We built 9 others as well.
It's called text effects. These tools, they generate similes, they create acronyms, they parse words. It's an entire suite of different kind of possibilities dealing with text and language.
So I wanted to just highlight that as, to me, one of the best examples of the solutions to combat AI, because obviously the bias does come from the data set, and but they also, it's coming from inclusive development of these tools and cultural inputs, which, taking Lupe Fiasco's brain and helping to design these tools is really important. And I just wanted to leave you with a few questions, and my slides will be shared. Just as questions to be asking about these tools that we're using, right? So that we can keep testing, keep questioning, and do our part. Obviously, we have a big part in California to get as diverse of a student group and population trained in computer science, and there's initiatives for that. So I just want to leave you with that. And I think that's my time. That's it.
Oh, you're good, Ed. That's all right.
You like that one?
I love it. Timing yourself. That's some self-management right there.
Hey.
I love the idea of skeptical inquiry. I think that's excellent. I also want to let everyone know that if you were having trouble hearing the video, the closed captioning will be available once this goes to YouTube, and that will be emailed to everyone as well. So, and then actually, Ed, as well, when you send the, I'm going to be sending resources to all registrants within a couple days. So, Ed, if you want to include that video, that would be great, and others can watch that as well. So we want to make sure that, and I just think that was fascinating. I really appreciate that take, and the referee metaphor is one I haven't thought about before, and so I appreciate that as well. And so I want to thank you, Ed, so much for being here and starting us off to talk about that topic. We now are going to move to, and by the way, if anyone has questions that they would like to ask, please feel free to ask questions of any of our speakers or of each other, ponderings you may have in the chat as we are monitoring those. So please go ahead and do that. But now we're going to hear from Dr. Amy Iguchi, who is an associate teaching professor for the Department of Education Studies at UC San Diego. And I've had the great pleasure of working with Amy in the CS4C AI work group, and she's been on she was on our very first AI panel discussion back in May. So we appreciate you, Amy, and all that you are doing to support educators and students. So Amy, if you want to go ahead and share your screen in a moment and ask any question or introduce yourself as well. Any further, please feel free to do so. Welcome.
Thank you. Let me try to share. Sorry, I'm a little bit under the weather, so you hear my voice kind of rusty. But so thank you, Kat, for this opportunity, and then also your leadership on CS education and AI literacy in California State. This has been great to work with you, and then all the people who are actually part of the CS AI for CS initiative. And then I know some of them are actually on the as a participant today. But my name is Emi Iguchi. I'm at UCSD, and my message is really, really small, close to what Ed was talking about. So, but I just want to set a stage right here. And then we have been talking about this amongst ourselves, but CSTA and then AI initiatives. But AI is part of CS. So it's not like AI existing by itself. It's part of the CS. And then the kind of AI that we are now talking about because of the chat GPT is part of the machine learning, which is smaller segment, subfield of AI itself too. So there are a lot more part of the AI. I just wanted to set that clearly because we're talking, and then my focus probably today is more on the generative AI side because that's what people are now talking about since like a year ago, right? But machine is not doing anything magically. Everything is like machine detects patterns in the data, which it was talking about. It's all the algorithms and math underneath, like behind the scene working. That's how it works. And then talking about machine learning, there's a data set, there's learning algorithm. What AI is doing is prediction, right? So that's clearly how it works. But I know probably some of you already have used this. I'm just gonna escape out, but I like to use it to just show how AI works. And then this is basically the drawing tool, right? Image recognition. Oh, I should have shared, hold on. I mean, if you want to, if you have never played with it, and if you want to play, where is the link? Right there, just copy and to the chat. If you want to play with it, go ahead and let me go back to the quick draw. And so it's asking me to draw an apple, which is kind of the first one. And I don't know if the sound, do you hear the sound? Okay, good. Couch, oh my goodness. I don't know. I'm not good at drawing. No.
So, Amy, we can't hear the sound on the computer, but for those of you that aren't aware, if you look at the bottom there, the AI program, it's predicting what.
Yeah. And then like, I'm not good at this, right? Anyways, I'm just gonna quit out because the purpose is not to just play with it. So wait, how can I get out of this? Oh no. Let me go back. Okay, so what I wanted to share is this. And let me go back to the slides, just going back and forth. So the Apple was an input, and then that created the data set. And then the data set is right there. And so basically what we're doing is contributing to the creation of the data set. And this is flip-flops. And then flip-flops is kind of problematic because if you think about flip-flops, I don't know, take it back. If you know how it's actually what the different names that different countries use for flip-flops, right? It could be sandal, Australia, chancla. Is it Spanish? Okay. And then Australia thon, right? So there's a term itself is US oriented, North American oriented. But also if you take a look at, I'm going back to the slide, take a look at this is something that my colleague Stacy George, Dr. George actually talked about. There is a flip-flop looks like a sandal in the mix. That's a noise, right? But if you have more of those, that becomes a data, and then that could be detected as a flip-flops. But if not, then somebody who's drawing a sandal like and then thinking that's a flip-flops won't get the correct answer. So that's sort of like a cultural slash like location specific bias. And then if you go, I was going to show it, but I'm just going to skip it. If you go and look at different data, you click on the data set itself, and then it actually opens up the window like that, and then show you where this drawing came from. And then when I was searching today, the sandal kind of picture was drawn by people from like European countries and Asian countries, all different countries, and some actually US drawings are also like that. So then you have to kind of stop and think about who actually created this tool. And then apparently this is the Google tool, right? So American based. So the people who are thinking of flip-flops is like a common term created this. And I'm showing AI for K-12 big idea image right here. I'm not going to go into the details, but if you're interested in looking at it or explore more, please go to ai4k12.org website. But we have some guidelines for AI literacy, but then societal impact is in the middle. And then that's really important part of this whole AI literacy learning. Next, and then I can't move on anymore. Oh, there. And then another example is speech recognition. And then this video is actually Vicky Sedgwick's video that she started to use, I believe. And then we love this video, so we keep using it. But just I hope you can listen to it. So the little girl. So she wants Alexa to play Baby Shark.
I don't think we're able to hear Amy, but
oh no, really? Oh, bummer. How do you do maybe this?
But it is in your slides as well, which will be shared with everyone.
So she's saying Baby Shark, but because of the toddler pronunciation is not clear. So mom comes in, and then mom comes in and she said, play Baby Shark. And of course it plays the Baby Shark. And then she becomes happy. But just stop and think. So it's talking about machine learning, but also talking about natural interaction between a machine and a human. But what if it's a toddler? Because we don't have a toddler utters the speech data in the internet. There's a privacy issue, but also who's going to record and then post it. Maybe there's some, but not good enough for Alexa to actually pick it up. Maybe ELL students will have a hard time actually pronouncing correctly. I had a difficulty using the chatbot when it actually came out because I am Japanese and I'm speaking with Japanese accent. But it recognizes me now because I am using American Standard English when I speak. And so that's a good, you kind of started to see who is making these tools and who's creating the data. That's the important question that you have to ask. And then other issues, and then there's some AI related issues that I'm just sort of pausing here. So last year, Apple was sued. Not sued, yeah, because Apple Watch the oxygen sensor doesn't work well with people with darker skin. And then also, maybe some of you already know or have seen the video of the soap dispenser. If you have the really dark skin, the soap dispenser doesn't work with your hand. But if you pull the paper and then you just sort of place the paper underneath the sensor, it actually works. So the different skin tones isn't an issue. This is an incident in, I think it was Australia. So the South Asian, the woman who's a South Asian heritage, was trying to use her face to do a Airbnb booking, and I have actually had the same kind of issue, not really issue, but the experience was Japanese Airbnb, and then they actually used my picture and my face to actually match when I was checking in. But I'm guessing something similar. So her face wasn't recognized, so she needed to actually use her white male partner to do the booking. And then the image down below, the graph shows the darker female skin, darker skin colored female has a difficult time using the facial recognition technology than lighter colored male. So there's a bias right there. It could be, I don't think it's an intentional bias, because who wants to intentionally penalize somebody from having a darker skin or being a female? It's just the people who are creating the technology don't see themselves in the mix, and then they don't see the possible issue when they're creating the data or creating the algorithm. The other thing, which sort of relates to what I was talking about, speech. This was actually the top news was this year in October, like a month ago. They're talking about African American English is harder for the speech tech to detect or understand because of the way African American people speak. And then that's when I was talking about mainstream English. If you speak mainstream English, the AI technology is actually good enough to pick it up. But if you have accents or you use different words into different, that makes it harder for AI technology to detect your speech because of the kind of data it's using to create the AI technology. And this is something like Ed was already doing, but I also did some experiment recently using DALL-E. And then it's an open AI tool to generate an illustration. And then the prompt was, purposely, I didn't specify anything. I said engineer, scientist, and scientists working on the partner robot. And the first image came out like this. Okay, well, luckily they're guy and female. But if you keep doing it, I'm just going to show two sets. Why the guy is the white guy with beard, and then why the woman is mostly the lighter skin color. And then it gets worse when you created a image with a cartoonish illustration. There's no women. And then this is typical, I'm sorry, I'm losing my voice. Typical nerdy scientist picture that comes out. And this is to sort of, and then, on top of that, I asked partner robots, right? Partner robots don't look like those geeky robots anymore. Those are the part of the collection of the partner robot that I have known for several years. So if the data is not there big enough for the AI to detect, it's not going to be part of the AI generation. And then the question that I wanted to pose, or the something that I want to encourage teachers and students to do, is to be curious and ask questions. Don't just follow Well, this is the spelling is wrong. I think I missed H. Technocologism meaning just technology, everything is right with the technology kind of mindset. Always ask, like, if there's a data bias, algorithmic bias, lack of diversity, lack of consideration for inclusion, there ethical issues. Those are the questions that I want everybody to ask. And then there are a bunch of resources. Oh, and then it's important to actually teach about and with AI, because this is an equity issue. If we don't do this, especially in public education, only the students who have access to AI will be learning how to use AI and then knowing about the impact of AI. And then those who have no access to it will be left behind. So it's just important to teach in schools. And there are a bunch of resources in there, and then it will be shared. I'm not gonna share everything, but it's gonna be shared later. Sorry, Kat, I'm losing my voice.
Oh, I want to thank you for being here, even though you're losing your voice. We appreciate all the insight. And there's some great research that you shared, and I was really thinking about how we want to make sure that our students are able to see themselves in the curriculum, and when we're using these AI tools, we need to be very careful and very aware of these realities. And similarly, the equity access issue is huge, and so trying to find out ways that we can diversify those that are creating the AI tools is certainly something that we believe in as well. So thank you so much, Amy. And I certainly hope your voice comes back soon. And yes, we will have all of those resources for you as well. I'll make sure that Amy's presentation is in there. And now we are going to have another wonderful educator speak with us. Crystal Chapman is with the Computer Science Teacher Association, Engage AI Practitioner Advisory Board, and I have had the great pleasure of viewing much of what Crystal has done through some CSTA work and such. That is the Computer Science Teacher Association. And so excited that you are here with us, Crystal. Here is the bit.ly. I'll go ahead and copy that for everyone as well, if you'd like to follow along. And I'll stop sharing, Crystal, so that you can introduce yourself further if you'd like to, and let us know some of the insight that you'd like to share with us.
All right. Hello, everyone. Like she said, I am Crystal Chapman, and I'm sharing my screen, hopefully. I think everyone can possibly see.
Yep, you are good.
Or maybe not. You guys see some online shopping I was doing earlier today. Hold on. Give me 1 second. All right. Let's see if it's working now. All right. Are we good to go?
We got it.
Great. So once again, I am Crystal Chapman. I am a brown-skinned Black woman with a short-tempered haircut, brown eyes, gold-rimmed glasses, and I'm wearing a black shirt today. And so it is my pleasure to represent the Computer Science Teacher Association, CSTA, and talk to you a little bit about algorithmic bias. And my focus is going to, fortunately, take a little bit of what Ed said, take a little bit of what Amy said, and talk from the frame of impact over intent. See. All right, so one of the things that I kind of hear often is it really algorithmic bias, or are we just good at selecting people that are best fit for a role, best fit for an academic program, best fit for a job? And a lot of times I'm like, well, I see where you're coming from, but also I think we need to work a little bit on recognizing how those sneaky biases can kind of pop in on us when we least expect it. So we're going to walk through a game. This game is actually called Survival of the Best Fit. It is made by a great team that I'm going to talk about shortly towards the end. And so I decided to kind of frame it as, is it algorithmic bias or is it survival of the best fit? So I would appreciate just a tad bit of chat participation. I'm going to open up my chat because I'm going to ask you guys probably 1 or 2 questions as we go through. All right, so let's get going. So congratulations. everyone, we just got $1 million for our startup. Woo! Yay, celebration. So we are ready to get going with our startup, right? And so we get an email from Peter, who is one of the guys with the venture capitalist group. And he's saying, we're excited about the startup. It's a competitive market. So you need to make sure you hire fast and hire well, right? And so the next screen that we get is essentially our hiring screen. And so I'm going to describe what's happening here. At the very top, it's telling us we have to hire 3 people. And then right under that, we'll see a button for accept and reject. And there's a person here and they're a candidate. Beneath that person are more candidates. One thing I want to note is that there are 2 blue people and 5 orange people. Take that how you choose to take it and put a meaning to it where you feel meaning should be put. Finishing out explaining what's on the screen towards the top right is information about the candidate that we're viewing. So this person's name is Ellen Copeland. It's talking about their skill, school prestige, work experience, and ambition. And the way it works is that it's on a little sliding scale to where the most filled portion would be 100% of that characteristic, if you will. And then, the smaller, the less. So of course, for all of our candidates, we want that bar filled to the highest capacity, right? Right. So out of skill, prestige, work experience, and ambition, I am curious, what do you all think would make for the best candidate for our startup? So just tell me in the chat, what's your top one? If you were hiring, you had the last say so. Are you looking for the person with the most skill, the most school prestige, the most work experience, or the most ambition? So I'm seeing that we are all kindred spirits because y'all are choosing the ones that I said, which are skill and ambition. Mind you, I think school prestige is important, but we know that often helps with networking more than anything else. And then work experience, I give it, kind of, sort of, just because work experience could be great for the role that you were in. But since we're starting this startup and it's brand new and no one's ever done it before, we want to make sure that skills are high and your ambition is probably higher to make sure that you're motivated to continue to do the work. So I'm glad that we agree. So without going further into it, we would all agree to hire Ellen, I'm assuming, correct? Because she is very high skill, very high ambition. I think we're all in agreement here. All right. And so as you go through, you can click the additional candidates. The second candidate that we had was a blue person, Todd. Todd has lower skill and lower ambition. So based on what we all agree, we would possibly reject Todd. No offense, Todd. All right, so we finished hiring our 3 people. Peter pops back. He's like, great job. You hired people with 25% more skill than the average applicant. Hooray. But if you want more money, and of course we want more money, right? We have to hire faster. And so now we have to pay attention to the clock. And it's like, wait a minute, you're putting a time on it? Yes. So now we're back at that same hiring screen, but now we have to hire 5 people. And when it started, you get 45 seconds. So it's the same layout where you have to pull up your candidate, look at their information. One thing I do want to note is that we started out on the second round with 2 blue people and 8 orange people. Keep that in mind. Put meaning to that where you choose to put meaning. And so we go through the process. We're moving really quickly, like skimming super fast, getting kind of tired because 45 seconds is not a lot of time to hire 5 people for the startup, right? But we get it done. Peter comes in and he says, good effort, but you need to hire even faster to get more funding. Like, can you pull this off? Do you really want the money, right? All the pressure is there. And so we go back to the third hiring screen. And now with those same 45 seconds, we have to hire 8 people. And now we have even more candidates to look through than before. One thing I do want to note is that on this screen, we have 1 blue person and 14 orange people. Make meaning with that what you will. And so we go through the process. I mean, I kid you guys not, when I did this, I was exhausted. I was like, this is too much pressure. And I know it's a game, but it's just too much pressure, too much. So we finished. Peter is telling us that, you know what, it's just too competitive here in Orange Valley. Can you talk to your software engineers to kind of speed things up? And I heard that AI solves problems like really well. And so, of course, if Peter, the money man, is telling us to do things to get the money, we're going to do what Peter says, right? And so this is a screenshot of the email between us and the software engineer. And so basically we're telling them what we need, and they're responding back saying that they have built us an algorithm using machine learning, and basically they're going to have it hire like us. And so, our question is, well, how does that work? And then they tell us first, to read through the past applicant information, and then it will learn what makes a good candidate and make decisions from there. And then, of course, our response is a machine can think like me. I thought I was pretty up there, high up there on the list, right? And our engineer says, well, thinking is a strong word, but it's a way for us to teach the machine to know what a good candidate and a not so great candidate looks like. We'll just give it a lot of data, it'll learn it, it'll be fine. And then, so of course, we're asking, well, okay, well, where do we get the data? Because Peter said we had to hire faster. We have to get the money. Otherwise, we're going to fail. We don't want to be a failing startup. And so how do we get you the data? And so essentially, the data that we provide are all of the CVs from all of the candidates we've looked at so far. And so the candidates were divided into who was accepted, who was rejected, gave the CVs, and that's it. So then our engineers come back and they say, well, yeah, this is good, but it's not enough. The machines learn faster, better, however you want to put it, with a lot of data. So now we want to know, what company do you think hires the best candidates? And so they gave us 3 options: Google, Apple, and Amazon. And I'm not going to tell you what we clicked, but just know we chose one of the 3 based on our view of how well their employees work, right? All right, so now, new hiring screen. There's a whole lot of different things happening now, right? Towards the top, we still have our number of people we have to hire, that's 17, but now there's like a whole conveyor belt, assembly line machine happening. It's like 2 supercomputers with something in the middle that's doing some computer vision. It's a lot going on. And so it actually scans the CVs for us, and based on the data that it has, it accepts or rejects candidates, right? Right. And so if we look at the bottom of the screen, there's way more candidates than what we've had before. It's a lot happening. This is helping us, so we think. So Peter comes back. He's like, with this new algorithm, we've been able to hire 10 times people, lower the cost. Everything is great. It's working. Celebration. Like, we're securing the bag. And, everything seems to be going great, but the other shoe always has to drop, right? Well, Peter comes back and says, have a complaint from an applicant, Elvin Yang, was asking why they were rejected. Can you look into it? And like, of course, right away, we're going to go check out, because, we don't want people upset in our new startup, especially emailing Peter, the money man. So on this page, we're looking at the data set inspector. And so on the left side, we have our accepted candidates. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 orange accepted candidates and 2 blue accepted candidates. On the right side, we have our rejected candidates. 4 are blue and 1 is orange. And the one that we're focusing on, Elvin Yang, is highlighted in the middle. So based on what we said about how we hire, should Elvin have been hired? Oh yeah, I want to go back on that, but I'll go back. So he should have been hired possibly. I'm getting 1 yes in the chat. Couple of yeses. And mind y'all, he has high skill, school prestige, work experience, and ambition. So no matter what you were looking for, you would have hired him, right? All right. So one thing I want us to take a quick second to glance at: what do we notice about accepted versus rejected candidates? Yes, Vicky, you're getting ahead. You're getting ahead. But what do we notice about the candidates? There are more blue that are rejected, more orange that are accepted. Yes, absolutely. So we already said Elvin Yang should have been accepted. I jumped ahead on a question. Is there evidence of algorithmic bias? I'm getting a yes, definitely. Okay. I feel like with this short example that a lot of y'all have kind of drunk the Kool-Aid, as I would say. All right. But for those of you that are still a little bit not convinced, I want to share something else. Really quickly, this is the team. This this game itself is linked at the very end of the resources. They are phenomenal. They won awards for this game. And I thought it was a great way to quickly show, just how they can seep in. Because let's be honest, as the startup persons, we weren't intending to harm anybody. That was not our purpose. We wanted to hire the best, the fastest that we could, because Peter was putting the pressure on us, right? And so unbeknownst to us, it snuck in. All right, so the question is, how do we address these issues in learning spaces? And I've actually had people recently argue with me, well, these things don't exist in learning spaces. Of course they do. All right, so let's talk about the topic, which is impact over intent. That's how I like to frame it, impact over intent. So to get some shared definitions, intent are the thoughts behind your decision actions. I didn't intend to, or I'll say this, my daughter did not intend for me to step on the Lego when she dropped it on the floor, but that's kind of what happened, right? Or impact are the results and the perceptions of the decisions and actions. So the impact of it is that, oh gosh, I hurt my foot and, my child may be a little messy. So intent, impact, the thoughts behind and the results or the perception. So we're talking about this in education. Standardized testing, the intent. Initially, they wanted a method to make sure that students across the region had the same opportunity and we could assess to make sure they all learned at the same level with the same rigor. But the impact over time was that the standardized testing and accountability metrics, aka the money that makes the schools go round, lead to the perception that we are teaching to the test, students are not learning real things, and there's no reason to come to school outside of testing week or all the other things that have been said, right? So that's one example of algorithmic bias infiltrating the learning environment. Another one, one-to-one device initiatives. Initially, the intent was, hey, we have students that need access to laptops, tablets, whatever computing device we can think of, and it would enhance their tech-based learning opportunities, especially during the start of the pandemic. It was essential, right? But the impact, limited funds, poor infrastructure means that we don't have what we need to support or to replace things as they become damaged or worn out. So guess what happens? The students don't have one-to-one devices in the end anyway. And then, of course, one of the ones that has kind of gone out of favor, but it still seeps around, zero tolerance policies. Zero tolerance had a great intention to ensure that all scholars have a safe learning environment. I don't know what educator or what person would go against that concept, right? However, when it is in place, the impact means that the consequences don't always work well with the situation, or there's no opportunity for students to learn from their errors, or there's no room for restoration. Right? So impact over intent, or us letting the biases seep in, happens in learning spaces as well. So the biases continue to take over. And I'm going to super paraphrase these two because I know I'm low on time. So let me see if I can click on it without making me go to the link. All right. So this example is a student, Isabel. Her first words were Spanish. Her family speaks Spanish at home. So she, without a doubt, phenomenal Spanish speaker. Every course she's ever taken, every assessment she's ever taken, she's scored, top of the class because she speaks Spanish all the time, except for when she took the International Baccalaureate Spanish exam. She failed it. Why did she fail it? Was it a bad test day? No, it's because she actually did not take the assessment, and instead an algorithm decided to give her a score, a failing score, based on demographics and what the consistent grading of the teacher had been in time. So no assessment of her ability to speak Spanish led to her failing this assessment. It wasn't just her. It was like hundreds of thousands of other kids, right? And then another example of how they're seeping in when we really don't realize it. I'm not sure if in California you guys use the assessment tools, not the assessment tools, the student monitoring tools that kind of see what kids are doing on their computer and flag inflammatory language or flag self-harm language. You guys use those? So we do as well. But what they've noticed is that students that fall into the LGBTQIA+ group or Black and Muslim students, all of the terms that are used that are harmful for them don't get flagged as often. So they're open to more bullying and harassment by the platforms that are supposed to protect all students, right? So, of course, these are not the things that someone intended to happen when they first, developed this platform and of course sold it to the school district, but it's what the impact is, right? So question, I'm telling you all the issues. How do we repair it? Well, first off, we're going to recognize that there are biases everywhere in algorithms because we're humans. It comes from us, and it's okay that it comes from us. It's just a part of our human experience. But what we should do is focus on the impact of the algorithms over time. So what's good today could be catastrophic and harmful tomorrow. And it's okay if that happens as long as we're watching it and we stop it as soon as we notice it. Then keep humans in the loop. For no reason at all should any sort of platform, any sort of machine that learned really well be the end all be all statement on a student's grade, a student's discipline record, a student outcome at all. There should always be humans in double checking, making sure that the end result, the output makes sense based on the input. And then teach students to code and develop for a diverse group of users and learners. So if we teach them to think equitably on the front end, we don't have to fix it on the back end. So a couple of ways to do that. Digital citizenship is a foundation. Digital citizenship is the foundation for a lot of the issues that some teachers are experiencing with AI in the classroom, especially those that are concerned about cheating. Because if we teach students how to address plagiarism, how to cite properly, and allow them to cite AI, shoot, problem solved. Another one, use socially conscious CS curricula and standards. They are out there. Make sure that we're talking about the issues that may not necessarily affect me, but affect the person that's next to me. Challenge-based learning projects. So this is a method where students are able to look around their community, look around their environment, identify an issue or a challenge, and then work as a team to build a solution. And a lot of these solutions can be built with AI. And then, of course, teach them about the advocates that are speaking against these biases. There are a lot of people. There's like a whole list on another page that I have that we can look into, that we can talk about. And then also talk about constitutional AI. So this is generative AI that has guardrails to make sure that some of these not so great things that normally seep in when you're talking to a bot can't seep in. And so I have a lot of resources. I found every resource I could. I tried to categorize them. There are 2 pages worth of things. There are things in here about challenge-based learning for those of you that are interested. The survival of the best fit game is here. There's a lot of other games. I even included what Ed had earlier with Lupe Fiasco, who's one of my personal favorite rappers of all time. So tap into the tools. I know we're super out of time. Reach out to me on LinkedIn if you are interested in support and talking more about it. And thank you all for listening.
Thank you so much, Crystal. I have to say too, that not only do I love that I love resources. I love digging into resources, and our people are thanking you in the chat. And I just want to remind everyone, you're going to get an email within the next day or two that has the resources. So Crystal's slide deck will be in there that includes all those resources. And so thank you for that. And I have to say also, what I love, Crystal, we didn't even talk about this first, but our next webinar that we're going to be doing on Monday, I think it is actually Monday or Tuesday. I'll show everyone the graphic in a moment, is actually about what do we do now? Like, how do we respond to the algorithmic bias? So first we have to learn about it. We have to know, we have to be aware of it. But that's a great segue because that's exactly what we're going to be talking about next. And so what are our next steps for all of you? We are going to be sending you an email within the next couple of days with the links to the CDE AI guidance that we talked about, a PDF of this presentation, the resources that were mentioned in today's webinar, and a feedback form, because we do want to know what it is that you are looking for and what you'd be interested in learning more about. And then you'll also have a link to the Facebook Live recording that is currently happening right now. And then once the YouTube link is ready, you'll be emailed that as well. So just so you know, again, on the 13th, responding to algorithmic bias will be our next webinar, followed by demystifying AI is our December webinar. We're going to look under the hood and find out why did these things all happen? And Amy actually alluded to that a bit. And so we're going to learn a little bit more about that. Even for our young learners, we can even show our K-2 students how AI works. And so we're going to be talking about that as well. So I'm going to have great speakers, actionable resources, learner-focused content as always. This will all be in the information as well. So I'll email you your opportunity to share your insight with us, your ideas. Reserve a few minutes for a chat with me if you'd like. And I want to thank all of you for everything that you do. So thank you again. Thank you for being in your for being active in this webinar today, and have a wonderful wonderful day. If you have any questions, you can email me. I will be emailing you in a couple of weeks. And thank you to our incredible speakers.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. I'm going to stop.